the Lover by Marguerite Duras, page 36. It happened very quickly that day, a Thursday. He'd come every day to pick her up at the high school and drive her back to the boarding school. Then one Thursday afternoon, the weekly half-holiday, he came to the boarding school and drove off with her in the black car. It's in Cholon, opposite the boulevards linking the Chinese part of the city to the center of Saigon. The great American-style streets, full of streetcars, rickshaws, and buses. It's early in the afternoon. She's got out of the compulsory outing with the other girls. It's a native housing estate to the south of the city. His place is modern, hastily furnished, from the look of it, with furniture supposed to be ultra-modern. He says, I didn't choose the furniture. It's dark in the studio, but she doesn't ask him to open the shutters. She doesn't feel anything in particular, no hate, no repugnance either. So probably it's already desire. But she doesn't know it. She agreed to come as soon as he asked her the previous evening. She's where she has to be, placed here. She feels a tinge of fear. It's as if this must be not only what she expects, but also what had to happen, especially to her. She pays close attention to externals, to the light, to the noise of the city in which the room is immersed. He's trembling. At first he looks at her as though he expects her to speak, but she doesn't. So he doesn't do anything either. Doesn't undress her. Says he loves her madly. Says it very softly. Then is silent. She doesn't answer. She could say she doesn't love him. She says nothing. Suddenly, all at once, she knows. Knows that he doesn't understand her. That he never will. That he lacks the power to understand such perverseness. And that he can never move fast enough to catch her. It's up to her to know, and she does. Because of his ignorance, she suddenly knows. She was attracted to him already on the ferry. She was attracted to him. It depended on her alone. She says, I'd rather you didn't love me, but if you do, I'd like you to do as you usually do with women. He looks at her in horror, asks, Is that what you want? She says it is. He started to suffer here in this room for the first time. He's no longer lying about it. He says he knows already she'll never love him. She lets him say it. At first, she says, she doesn't know. Then, she lets him say it. He says he's lonely, horribly lonely, because of this love he feels for her. She says she's lonely too. She doesn't say why. He says, You've come here with me as you might have gone anywhere with anyone. She says she can't say, so far she's never gone into a bedroom with anyone. She tells him she doesn't want him to talk. What she wants is for him to do as he usually does with women he brings to his flat. She begs him to do that. He's torn off the dress. He throws it down. He's torn off her little white cotton panties and carries her over like that, naked, to the bed. And there he turns away and weeps. And she, slow, patient, draws him to her and starts to undress him. With her eyes shut, slowly. He makes as if to help her. She tells him to keep still. Let me do it. She says she wants to do it, and she does. Undresses him. When she tells him to, he moves his body in the bed, but carefully, gently, as if not to wake her. The skin is sumptuously soft. The body is thin, lacking in strength, in muscle. He may have been ill, may have been convalescent. He's hairless, nothing masculine about him, but his sex. He's weak. Probably a helpless prey to insult, vulnerable. She doesn't look him in the face, doesn't look at him at all. She touches him, touches the softness of his sex, his skin, caresses his goldenness, the strange novelty. He moans, weeps, in dreadful love. And weeping, he makes love. At first, pain, and then the pain is possessed in its turn, changed, slowly drawn away, borne toward pleasure, clasped to it. The sea, formless, simply beyond compare. Already on the ferry in advance, the image owed something to this moment. The image of the woman in darned stockings has crossed the room, and at last she emerges as a child. The sons knew it already, but not the daughter, yet. They'd never talk about the mother among themselves, about the knowledge of her, which they both shared and which separated them from her. The final decisive knowledge that their mother was a child. Their mother never knew pleasure. I didn't know you bled. He asked me if it hurt. I said no. He says he's glad. He wipes the blood away, washes me. I watch him. Little by little, he comes back, becomes desirable again. I wonder how I had the strength to go against my mother's prohibition, so calmly, with such determination. How I managed to follow my ideas to their logical conclusion. We look at each other. He puts his arms around me, asks me why I came here. I say I had to. It was a sort of obligation. It's the first time we've talked. I tell him I have 2 brothers, that we haven't any money, all gone. He knows my elder brother, has met him in the local opium dens. I say my brother steals from my mother to go there, steals from the servants, and that sometimes the keepers of the dens come and demand money from my mother. I tell him about the dikes. I tell him my mother will die. It can't go on like this. That my mother's approaching death, too, must be connected with what has happened to me today. I notice that I desire him. He feels sorry for me, but I say no. I'm not to be pitied. No one is except my mother. He says, you only came because I'm rich. I say, that's how I desire him, with his money. That when I first saw him, he was already in his car, in his money, so I can't say what I'd have done if he'd been different. He says, I wish I could take you away, go away with you. I say, I couldn't leave my mother yet without dying of grief. He says he certainly hasn't been lucky with me, but he'll give me some money anyway, don't worry. He's lain down again. Again, we're silent. The noise of the city is very loud. In recollection, it's like the soundtrack of a film turned up too high, deafening. I remember clearly, the room is dark. We don't speak. It's surrounded by the continuous din of the city, caught up in the city, swept along with it. There are no panes in the windows, just shutters and blinds. On the blinds you can see the shadows of people going by in the sunlight, on the sidewalks. great crowds of them, always. The shadows are divided into strips by the slats of the shutters. The clatter of wooden clogs is ear-splitting. The voices, strident. Chinese is a language that's shouted the way I always imagine desert languages are. It's a language that's incredibly foreign. Outside, it's the end of the day. You can tell by the sound of the voices, the sound of more and more passers-by, more and more miscellaneous. It's a city of pleasure that reaches its peak at night, and night is beginning now, with the setting sun. The bed is separated from the city by those slatted shutters, that cotton blind. There's nothing solid separating us from other people. They don't know of our existence. We glimpse something of theirs, the sum of their voices, of their movements, like the intermittent hoot of a siren, mournful, dim. Whiffs of burnt sugar drift into the room. The smell of roasted peanuts, Chinese soups, roast meat, herbs, jasmine, dust, incense, charcoal fires. They carry fire about in baskets here. It's sold in the street. The smell of the city is the smell of the villages up country, of the forest. I suddenly saw him in a black bathrobe. He was sitting, drinking a whiskey, smoking. He said I'd been asleep. He'd taken a shower. I'd fallen asleep almost unawares. He switched on a lamp on a low table. He's a man of habit. I suddenly think of him. He must come to this room quite often. He's a man who must make love a lot. A man who's afraid. He must make love a lot to fight against fear. I tell him I like the idea of his having many women. The idea of my being one of them, indistinguishable. We look at each other. He understands what I've just said. Our expressions are suddenly changed, false, caught in evil and death. I tell him, come over to me. Tell him he must possess me again. He comes over. He smells pleasantly of English cigarettes, expensive perfume, honey. His skin has taken on the scent of silk, the fruity smell of silk tussore, the smell of gold. He's desirable. I tell him of this desire. He tells me to wait a while, talks to me, says he knew right away when we were crossing the river that I'd be like this after my first lover, that I'd love. He says he knows now I'll deceive him and deceive all the men I'm ever with. He says as for him, he's been the cause of his own unhappiness. I'm pleased with all he's foretold and say so. He becomes rough, desperate. He throws himself on me, devours the childish breasts, shouts, insults. I close my eyes on the intense pleasure. I think he's used to it. This is his occupation in life. Love, nothing else. His hands are expert, marvelous, perfect. I'm very lucky, obviously. It's as if it were his profession, as if unwittingly he knew exactly what to do and what to say. He calls me a whore, a slut. He says I'm his only love, and that's what he ought to say. And what you do say, when you just let things say themselves, when you let the body alone to seek and find and take what it likes. And then everything is right and nothing's wasted. The waste is covered over and all is swept away in the torrent, in the force of desire. The sound of the city is so near, so close. You can hear it brushing against the wood of the shutters. It sounds as if they're all going through the room. I caress his body amid the sound, the passers-by. the sea, the immensity, gathering, receding, returning. I ask him to do it again and again. Do it to me. And he did, in the unctuousness of blood. And it really was unto death. It has been unto death. He lit a cigarette and gave it to me, and very quietly, close to my lips, he talked to me. And I talked to him too, very quietly. Because he doesn't know for himself, I say it for him, in his stead. Because he doesn't know he carries within him a supreme elegance, I say it for him. Now, evening comes. He tells me I'll remember this afternoon all my life, even when I've forgotten his face and name. I wonder if I'll remember the house. He says, take a good look at it. I do. I say it's like everywhere else. He says yes, yes. It's always the same. I can still see the face, and I do remember the name. I see the whitewashed walls still, the canvas blind between us and the oven outside, the other door arched, leading to the other room and to an open garden. The plants are dead from the heat, surrounded by blue balustrades, like those at the big villa in Sadek, with its tiers of terraces overlooking the Mekong. It's a place of distress, shipwrecked. He asks me to tell him what I'm thinking about. I say, I'm thinking about my mother. She'll kill me if she finds out the truth. I see he's making an effort. Then he says he understands what my mother means, this dishonor, he says. He says he himself couldn't bear the thought if it were a question of marriage. I look at him. He looks back, apologizes, proudly. He says, I'm Chinese. We smile at each other. I ask him if it's usual to be sad as we are. He says it's because we've made love in the daytime, with the heat at its height. He says it's always terrible after. He smiles, says, whether people love one another or not, it's always terrible. Says it will pass as soon as it gets dark. I say he's wrong. It's not just because it was in the daytime. I feel a sadness I expected, and which comes only from myself. I say I've always been sad, that I can see the same sadness in photos of myself when I was small, that today, recognizing it as the sadness I've always had, I could almost call it by my own name. It's so like me. Today I tell him it's a comfort, this sadness. A comfort to have fallen at last into a misfortune my mother has always predicted for me when she shrieks in the desert of her life. I say I don't quite understand what she says, but I know this room is what I was expecting. I speak without waiting for an answer. I tell him my mother shouts out what she believes like the messengers of God. She shouts that you shouldn't expect anything ever, either from anybody else or from any government or from any God. He watches me speak, doesn't take his eyes off me, watches my lips. I'm naked. He caresses me. Perhaps he's not listening. I don't know. I say I don't regard my present misfortune as a personal matter. I tell him how it was just so difficult to get food and clothes, to live, in short. I'm nothing but my mother's salary. I'm finding it more and more difficult to speak. He says, how did you all manage? I say, we lived out of doors. Poverty had knocked down the walls of the family, and we were all left outside, each one fending for himself. Shameless. That's what we were. That's how I came to be here with you. He is on me, engulfed again. We stay like that, riveted, moaning, amid the din of the still external city. We can still hear it, and then we don't hear it anymore.